My queen, our forces have made it to Rook's Rest and are ready for the assault.
Thank you, Lord Oakhart. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee.
My queen, is there anything you wanted to tell us? Perhaps something you've planned for the upcoming attack? Anything at all?
Nope. Can't think of anything. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee.
It's just that, well, some of the men have been talking about the massive blue whale you brought.
What? How did you figure it out? The blue whale is known for its stealth.
Well, I mean, the blue whale is the largest animal to ever exist on the planet. Our scouts clearly saw him come in, and no doubt Rook's Rest scouts did as well. He's hard to hide behind that tree, and the earth shakes every time he moves. And your men have been bringing 6 tons of krill to it every day for food. Not to mention it's really, really loud and it shits a lot, sir. It's hard to ignore the smell of 10 tons of shit next to camp. What are your plans with it?
Well, I was going to try to get it in the postern gate.
And our episode begins with Damon approaching the Iron Throne and finding Rhaenyra there. And you know, there is that old saying about wives, but here, lo and behold, well after marriage, Rhaenyra still gives Damon head. Anyway, Damon forgot to put the Do Not Disturb sign on his door and finds Simon Strong changing his towels and telling him news of a raven. Criston Cole has been on the march for a fortnight and has taken Stokeworth and Rosby and may be heading to Harrenhal. But Simon says Damon doesn't have enough time to raise an army against Criston. Really? Not enough time? Those Blackwoods and Brackens raised armies instantly. How long can it take? How many times do I have to get this map out? Look, Criston Cole is here, around where Rosby and Stokeworth are. He seems to have the plan of looking like he's going to attack Harrenhal, which is ruled by Larry Strong when he left, but instead going for Rook's Rest. So yes, it's a bit odd that Damon happens to conquer a castle in the middle of green-on-green friendly fire. But that said, Harrenhal is pretty far away. It would take at least a month for any green forces to get there. Harrenhal has massive lands and presumably small folk, and nearby we have Derry, Lord Harroway's Town, Salt Pans, and Maidenpool a little further. And in the source material, Pink Maiden and the twins bring forces down. The Riverlands also has the Trident, which makes the moving of forces and supplies easier. The point being, there's plenty of time to raise an army against the forces of Stokeworth and Rosby. Simon Strong's assessment is so stupid that everyone promptly ignores it. And so Damon goes on to raise his army and meets with Oscar Tully, and we find out that the showrunners are deeply, deeply ashamed. Ashamed? This is a show with butts farting into the camera and Kool-Aid dragons. What can they possibly be ashamed of? Well, in the source material, it's Elmo Tully who rules in the stead of Grover, and his eldest son is Kermit. It's rather clear the showrunners thought this was a bit much and cut those Muppets, leaving the ones with more normal-sounding names. Elmo and Kermit were a line too far. Anyway, Damon tells Oscar that he needs to wear a cloak, but the boy says he can't pull it off. And in our next scene, we're introduced to Alan of Hull. Didn't we already have a scene introducing him? And then they had another scene talking about him? We're 4 episodes in. Is Alan going to actually do anything, or are we just getting introduced to him over and over again? If this were season 1, I feel like he would have had a time skip, 2 personality overhauls, and a foot fetish by now. Well, it's just another introduction. So, hi, Alan. Hi, Alan. We then get to Allicent, who is late on her period and suspects she's pregnant. It seems that Criston Cole, despite promising to pull out, has forsaken another solemn vow. Anyway, since Cole has been away for more than a fortnight, we know that Allicent is at least 4 weeks along, and so Allicent tries to book an appointment with the Grand Maester, but sure enough, his schedule is full. Anyway, she misses the 6-week deadline of the Crownlands, and so Allicent is forced to take a week off of work and travel all the way to Haystack Hall for an appointment with the Maester there. It's a pretty exhausting ordeal, and despite Cole promising to go Dutch on the whole thing, he of course never paid up. Wow, Westeros is really backward. Yeah, tell me about it. Anyway, we then get to Rhaenyra's small council, who is bickering about the events in the world. And regarding Damon and the Riverlands, Gorman Massey says that Damon has more disentangling ahead of him than the end of a Lyseni orgy.
Huh. That's a weird metaphor.
I mean, it makes me wonder how hard Massey parties, but why do you think it's weird?
Well, I mean, it's the end of the orgy, right? Shouldn't everyone want to disentangle, having been satisfied and such? People heading off to the restrooms, that sort of thing? I mean, I can understand the beginning of a Lyseni orgy, or the middle of a Lyseni orgy, but why would the end be difficult to disentangle?
I mean, maybe everyone is sleepy and sticky? I'm not sure how these things work.
But half the attendants are going to be sex workers, right? I mean, they're not sticking around to cuddle. I'm not sure what orgies this Lord Massey has been attending.
And which ones have you been attending?
Dude, you have no idea how hard we party in the land of always winter.
Anyway, next we get to the fall of Duskendale, where Sir Criston's forces have defeated the Darklands, and Criston Cole beheads Lord Darkland himself. But not before he insults Sir Criston by calling him a kingmaker.
Kingmaker is a slur now?
Apparently so.
I still prefer Criston Cole, crown placer.
Anyway, next Sir Gawain points out that Harrenhal is to the west, and with a coy smile, Criston Cole reveals that yes it is, and they're heading east.
Question here, what exactly is the point of this ruse?
What do you mean?
Why feign the march to Harrenhal only to go to Rook's Rest? What does the feign actually add? I mean, in the source material, Criston Cole simply marches to Rook's Rest and the same events happen. In fact, a feign goes against what Criston Cole actually wants. He wants Rhaenyra to find out where he's going. This all seems really pointless. I mean, last time I gave the show quite a bit of shit for the Greens planning an attack on their own castle. But here we see that idiotic move wasn't even part of their plans. That was a feign. But the feign adds nothing. It all doesn't make any sense. They didn't need anyone to believe that they were going to illogically take Harrenhal. In retrospect, we see that it was not only idiotic, but completely unnecessary. You know what? Nah. I think I figured it out. You see, last episode was called The Burning Mill, and the whole episode was about people reacting to the Brack and Blackwood fight. Except, narratively speaking, the Riverlands have nothing to do with Cole trying to take Rook's Rest and trying to plan a dragon ambush. So, narratively speaking, in that episode, Cole had no impetus to actually march when he did. The writers needed a reason for Cole to leave King's Landing, and so they had his march be about the Riverlands. But it had nothing to do with the Riverlands. In fact, for an episode being about the Burning Mill and everyone talking about the Burning Mill the whole episode, no one reacts to the Burning Mill. Damon takes Harrenhal independent of the Burning Mill, and the Green Council talks about the Burning Mill, but then they actually plan Rook's Rest. And the Black Council talks about sending dragons because of the Burning Mill, but then doesn't. The Burning Mill was irrelevant the whole time.
Well, not quite. The faux upcoming battle for Harrenhal does cause Rhaenyra to sneak into King's Landing to stop it.
Oh my god, you're right. I'd blocked it out. Episode 3 was really, really bad.
And speaking of the last episode, next we get a small council scene that seems to exist largely to solve a few of the problems of last episode, or at least lampshade them. Oh, hello, Shade of the Lamp.
I just wanted to point out that everyone in this scene recognizes that Larry Strong is Lord of Harrenhal. So yes, the writers know that, even though last episode they didn't.
Yes, and the secrecy of Rook's Rest seems to be chalked up to keeping military decisions away from Aegon because he would somehow mess them up. For example, in this scene, Aegon doesn't want to attack Rook's Rest, he wants to attack Harrenhal. He's spoiling the Rook's Rest fun. Except in the last episode, that wasn't the situation at all. Harrenhal wasn't yet conquered, and Aegon was actually super eager to make war anywhere. So there was no barrier to Rook's Rest at all, and no reason for the feint. Episode 3 was really, really bad. Anyway, next we get to Larry Strong paying a visit to Allicent, who is ill because she had too much lamprey pie. And no other reason. The two then sit down and discuss history and Viserys' intention on who should be heir. And the two conclude that people are going to believe what they believe, and Viserys' intentions are no longer relevant.
Indeed.
And then Larry Strong proceeds to masturbate. And then we get to Damon, who is having trouble sleeping at Harrenhal, and he gets up and follows a one-eyed version of himself.
Ah, I think I get the metaphor. A one-eyed version of himself. He's always following his dick.
Yes, that must be it. Anyway, he then runs into a barn owl in human form, who tells him that sitting upon werewoods can cause weird dreams and visions, because werewoods contain the disembodied consciousness of people that died thousands of years ago. What a crazy idea. I mean, that's just idiotic. Sitting upon werewood and having the souls cause weird things to happen to you, like dreams and visions. Why would anyone believe this? Anyway, to help with his sleep, the barn owl prepares Damon a nice, refreshing glass of Jojen Reed. And drinking that goes about as well as expected. We then get to Aegon, who is bored with his small council and goes to his mother to complain that Criston Cole and Aemond don't listen to him. Allicent then says that Aegon isn't wise and that the men on his council earned their position. Unlike him.
What? He was specifically complaining about Cole and Aemond. He wasn't talking about Ironrod, Tyland, and Orwyle. Cole and Aemond didn't earn shit. Cole was placed on the council because of his botched idea to send Auric to Dragonstone, which Allicent was against. And Aemond is on the council for no reason at all, after killing Luke, which Allicent was also against. Allicent doesn't think Cole and Aemond are wise. She thinks they're reckless.
Yeah, I have to say Allicent is just being needlessly mean to a dude who's been king for like a few weeks, and whose son died recently.
Yeah, it's worse than that. Allicent clearly thinks Cole and Aemond are impulsive and reckless. She in no way should be defending them and insulting Aegon on this issue. Yet the plot demands that Aegon be emotionally devastated and flies off to battle, so Allicent has to act out of character to get him there.
And then, well, we actually get the Battle of Rook's Rest. Now look, the Battle of Rook's Rest is a beautiful affair, it is. The CGI is great, the costumes are great, the pacing of the scene is great, and I can actually follow the action, which is more than I can say for most action scenes in any form of media.
Yeah, but, and this is a big but, the premise of the battle is one of the most illogical and contrived things that has ever appeared in Game of Thrones. It is seriously on par with North of the Wall. So, first of all, let's set aside the ridiculous logistics of the battle. Criston Cole supposedly hid thousands of soldiers in the woods, marching for days if not weeks, without anyone catching wind of his movements. All of those baggage trains and camp followers completely unseen. And he built siege engines to boot. Fine. And he somehow hid an enormous dragon, the biggest animal in the world, who shakes the ground when it walks. He hid it in the woods, feeding it and providing it water. Fine. Fucking fine. And let's forget again, of course, that there was no reason for the secrecy, that there was no reason to feign towards Harrenhal, which they owned at the time, and no reason to hide in the woods, and no reason for the sudden appearance. Cole wanted to be found so he could lure a dragon out. When the dragon is lured is kind of irrelevant. Any of Rhaenyra's dragons pouncing on him at any time leads to the same result, as long as Aemond is following behind out of sight. Again, in the source material, there is no ruse and there is no secrecy. They just marched. Let's set this all aside. Still, with the Battle of Rook's Rest, what is truly ridiculous, unforgivably ridiculous, is the timing of the characters. Rhaenys and Aegon arrive at roughly the same time, and Aegon arrives just moments before Aemond is ready to reveal himself. I want you to think about how mind-bogglingly unlikely that is. Criston Cole has been on the road for maybe a month, and Aegon has absolutely no clue when he would arrive at Rook's Rest. None. He just happens to get bored in a small council meeting, and then happens to talk to his mom, who illogically bashes him, and then he chooses that very moment to take off with his dragon, fly hundreds of miles, and arrive at Rook's Rest within minutes of when Rhaenys has. Had Aegon left, a half hour earlier, Rhaenys wouldn't have been there, and Cole and Aemond would have told Aegon that he was spoiling their plan. And had he left 2 minutes later, Aemond would have already taken flight and engaged Rhaenys in battle. It is absolutely insane that Aegon and Alicent would have their weird illogical discussion at the perfect moment for Aegon to change his mind and arrive in this exact window of time at Rook's Rest. The timing was definitely the worst part of the episode.
Well, Brandon, I thought you were going to complain about Aemond wanting his brother dead over teasing him at a brothel. I mean, that's quite an escalation. Or Rhaenys claiming she's had battle experience with Meleys, even though we're specifically told that there's been 80 years of peace. Or, once again, Ninja Dragon. Lord Staunton, good news. Queen Chad has been routed. The Summer Childs are in retreat. Oh, that's a relief. I suppose you and your squire can have some much-needed relaxation. Squire? I don't have a squire. Oh, who are you? Oh, hello, my name is Pate. Like the pig boy. Like the pig boy? Oh no, oh no! It's a faceless whale!